2014. I'm Acting Mayor Ted Schaefer. With me I have my council colleagues, Councillor Jack Arnold, Councillor Rosemary Wallace, Councillor Gail Martin, Councillor Terry James, and Councillor Dave Hall. The staff I have with me tonight is Darren Light, Director of Corporate Services. We have Paula Cusack. She is the Deputy Corporate Officer for this evening. Our CAO is Mr. Francis Chung. I have Director of Development Services, Gerald Minchuk, Director of Engineering and Parks and Environment, Rick Braunhoff, Rory Thompson, our Fire Chief, who's just stepped out, and Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture, and Community Services. But before I start this meeting, I'd like to correct a procedural error. I need to amend the agenda and move bylaw 2926 to the top of the meeting. And so moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Wallace. Alrighty. Councillor James is leaving. This is a first reading of bylaw 2926, the financial plan 2013 to 2017. And because it was a procedural error, it has to be split up between first and then later second and third reading if council so approves. And Councillor Hall?
Speaking to this, given the magnitude of the 204 Street overpass project, I would suggest an amendment to split this bylaw into two separate bylaws in amendment of the 2013-2017 capital improvement plan.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Hall's amendment? Yes.
Thank you. So of the, 12 here, you want to take that one out by itself?
Yes.
May I also suggest then we take out number 4 and do that separate so Councillor James can be in on the discussion for the rest of them? Because if we do it all together, she can't be here, right?
That is correct on item 4. That's why she's excused herself.
Right. So we do number 1 separate and number 4 separate?
I would separate the both of them. And I'll second Councillor Hall's amendment just for information, so the information why you would like to do this.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Oh.
May I ask, is it being separated into 3 bylaws or one bylaw and then another bylaw with item 1 and 4?
I'm just separating Councillor Hall's out right now.
Okay.
Councillor Hall, do you want to give an explanation?
Clarification then.
Yes.
So my amendment is to simply take out number 1. It would take a second amendment to take out 4 separately.
Right, that's correct.
So we'll deal with
Yours separately.
First amendment first.
That gives you a chance. Instead of if it was to die on the floor, you wouldn't have a chance. So I'm just seconding your amendment or your motion just so you could discuss it.
Okay, my rationale on this is that
I'm sorry, but I think Councillor James should be in. If we're separating it, she should be allowed in on this discussion.
No.
Are we discussing the number 1 amendment?
Yes.
So then why can't Councillor James be in here?
Because
she's not in a conflict for that.
Currently, the bylaw 2926 is on the floor as is, and she wants to excuse herself so that she's not part of any discussion as it is incomplete. Right now, number 1 hasn't been taken out, so all items are still on the floor.
Well, I thought that's what Councillor Hall was asking, is to have that separated from the rest of them.
But you're discussing that amendment now. It hasn't been voted on. Once that amendment has been voted on, you can move to the remainder of the bylaw, and then you can propose an amendment to that. Unless you're proposing to take them both out and put them into a separate bylaw.
Can I make a suggestion?
Councillor Hall?
Well, okay, what we could do is, I'll temporarily withdraw my amendment. We'll deal with pulling number 4 out first,
right,
as moved by you. If that amendment were to pass, then Councillor James could then come back, because we're not directly
Right,
dealing
right.
with that, and
Yeah.
then deal with mine.
Yeah, I think she should be, have access to discussing all of the amendments. So if we can just take out number 4, I'll move to remove number 4 and deal with that separately.
So if I can clarify, Councillor
Okay.
Martin is moving an amendment to take number 4 out,
Yes.
and do we have a seconder for that?
Councillor Arnold.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of pulling out that one? It's unanimous. So now I will ask Councillor James to come back in and bring back to the floor Councillor Hall's motion.
Just, when do we deal with number 4, though? Or was that?
That was it.
We just dealt with removing it. We haven't dealt with passing it.
It-
Can I get past Paul for a third?
She just said it was good.
Right now, we have on the floor the original bylaw less number 4.
Right.
That's where we are right now.
So when we deal with the 11 here, then Councillor James has to leave again when we deal with 4, or are we going to put it back in, or how does that work? Sorry, Paula.
What's number
On the second and third reading, she would,
11? Oh,
But we haven't passed first reading, we've only passed it to come out of,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Councillor Martin, you're correct. We haven't given it first reading yet.
Right.
We've just passed the amendment.
right.
Sorry, Councillor James, can I ask you to leave again? My
So-
apologies.
I'm just taking direction here.
Just to clarify, I believe what we should do now is pass or fail number 4 as part of this bylaw, deal with it completely and get rid of it, so Councillor James can come back. Is that correct?
Right now, we have first reading on the floor with an amendment that's been carried to take number 4 out.
Right.
Councillor Hall has an amendment to make that he wants to make before first reading is complete, correct?
That's right.
So,
I'm sorry I'm confused, but
no, it's okay, it's
when,
confusing.
when do we deal with number, so Councillor James doesn't have to keep coming and going back and forth. When can we deal with number 4 and have her just come back and stay?
Once we pass first reading.
So the discussion's going to come first. Are we going to pass these 12 as a unit? Or pass number 4 by itself?
Well, I don't know what happens with number 4 being taken out.
So will Councillor
Right now,
Hall.
number 4 has just been removed.
By pulling 4 out, it creates a new bylaw.
Right.
Okay? The committee, the whole meeting that we're having is on the advertised portions that are left.
That's right.
So with 4 out, we have the option, I think, of re-advertising the new bylaws, and if my amendments were to pass, it would be 2 of them, and that would proceed to a committee, the whole meeting, next meeting.
That's right.
Pretty expensive way to do it.
If the amendment were to fail, or the 2 amendments were to fail, then we would simply revert back to the original, which captures all 12, and we could proceed to the committee of the whole at that point, because we have advertised it as it appears here.
If we take both of them
If you take both. So now we're
out.
going
What they
to,
want.
so now we're actually dealing with Councillor Hall's amendment.
If he so chooses to move it before first reading is passed, yes. Yeah.
Councillor Hall made that motion.
Okay, so speaking to that motion, we advertised a series of amendments to the financial plan, one of which is a significant amount of $2 million plus The advertisement for that went out prior to any discussion on council at all, and members of the public viewing the advertisement were encouraged to perhaps inquire of City Hall information on that. But there were no dollar figures included, so one would naturally assume that the general public would see this and say, oh, this is just routine business, and I really don't have anything to raise or contribute at a committee of the whole discussion. So I believe that's somewhat flawed in that the public should understand that we have such a large magnitude of change, and in the absence of any real debate, that would simply proceed. So in effect, I guess I'm delaying somewhat this particular item until the general public has an opportunity to at least recognize the magnitude of the change.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. So a vote on Councillor Hall's amendment. All those in favor of Councillor Hall's amendment to remove it?
Number 1.
All those against Councillor Hall's amendment?
Did Councillor Arnold vote? I'm sorry, I didn't see.
The amendment was to remove the first item, that was the 204th Street.
Point of order?
Yes, sir?
Well, I think part of that amendment, though, was in addition to removing, to create a separate bylaw, which ultimately would trigger a new committee of the whole discussion at the ensuing meeting. So the depth of the amendment really should reflect what the original amendment motion was.
So again, all those in favor, for clarification, Councillor Hall? Against Councillor Hall? So, okay, on the
We're gonna vote
first
on-
reading itself,
That's right. As amended.
as amended, all those in favor?
To take number
It
4
comes-
out.
Take 1 and 4 out.
4 was carried.
Oh, yeah. 1, pardon me. We need to do the first reading. It was to do a procedural error that was done. So it's as amended.
To take number 4 out. Why is Councillor James here?
Because first reading hadn't been passed yet, she wanted to excuse herself
Right.
because if first reading is on the floor, then she could be in a conflict due to item number 4. So until first reading is passed and that vote is closed, she can't come back
Can't come
in the
back.
room.
Then why did we remove number 4?
Well, yeah, no, it has been voted on. Amendment number 4 was removed so that she can take part in discussion later, after the committee of the whole, on the remaining items.
It's clear as mud.
So
So,
right now we-
on the first reading,
Yes.
all those in favor, as amended. Against. Councillor Hall is against. So now I have to,
Now she
now I can ask Councillor James to come in, and I recess the regular meeting, and I commence Committee of the Whole. And the Committee of the Whole, do I need a recess motion? Councillor Hall moves. Councillor Martin seconds. All those in favor of the recess motion? Martin. So the motion is that council resolve into Committee of the Whole. I need a motion to go into Committee of the Whole. A mover, Councillor Wallace, Councillor Arnold. And all those in favor? Thank you. Now, opposed? Councillor Hall. Now, the bylaw 2926, the financial plan, is what we're going into, and that is the plan for 2013-2017, the amendment bylaw. And I'd now like to ask the Director of Corporate Services to provide an overview.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Schaefer and members of Council. So before you tonight are now, as amended, 11 items that we're changing our capital improvement plan. The first 3 of them relate to changes to the budget of capital projects, the 204 Street Overpass, Douglas Park Water Park, and the Fraser Highway curb bulges. And the remaining ones are really just additional funding that we're getting from outside organizations as grants particularly, and contributions from developers. So these 11 items are going to be included in our 2013 financial plan. That's not this year, but the prior year's financial plan amendment. As well, we're amending in Schedule A the operating side of the budget to reflect our financial statements that we're going to be talking about later on tonight.
Thank you. And if there are any members of the public that wish to provide council with their views to this bylaw?
Mr. Mayor, Paul Albrecht is in the gallery.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity. I'll just go through some comments or questions that I have when I've reviewed this thing earlier today. 204 Street Overpass Project. Just over $2 million in a court proceeding award, and then an increase in the overpass budget of $2 million. Are those accumulated, or is that including this lawsuit? So is the total $4 million or $2 million?
It is.
The increase in the budget is actually $2 million.
So that includes the court proceedings, okay? So I guess what I see here is a 50% share with the province, and that is just over $1 million. And then the numbers that I'm seeing here in the breakdown for the city contribution is just shy of $1 million. So there seems to be a shortfall there of some amount.
I can explain that. In 2012, we actually incurred costs that we've been billing the province as we go along in this project. We haven't billed anything since May of 2012, so their share of the cost is a little bit more than our share because we paid 100% of the cost in the remainder of 2012. They're just catching up on their payment.
Okay. So I guess I'm somewhat perplexed at how we could have been so far out on the acquisition of the additional property, but that's something that's behind closed doors, and I understand that confidentiality and property purchase. So I'll move on to the Douglas Water Park project, and an overrun of over 18%. I'm just wondering, was there some kind of increase in the works that were being done out there, or was it just a blown estimate?
Mr. Light?
Your Worship, to Mr. Albrecht, that project hasn't been awarded yet, so we're just seeking additional funding from council to award it to this contractor for additional work that wasn't contemplated when we originally allocated the budget for. Some of that include a new asphalt perimeter path, new color treatment for a new asphalt path, and additional spray features that weren't contemplated initially. So that amounts to about $18,000–19,000.
Okay. Fraser Highway curb bulges, that's an overage of 58%, and I'm just wondering, again, I assume that there's some additional works that weren't initially covered with the estimate. Is that correct?
Your Worship, to Mr. Albrecht. Yeah, again, that project hasn't been awarded yet. We're just seeking additional fund from City Council. The consultant original cost estimate was too low. We went out for tender. We only have one bidder for the project, and the bidder was higher than we anticipated. And also the original budget didn't allow for any contingency, so now we're adding that on. That's why it was additional cost.
Okay. I know number 4 has been removed, but I just want to congratulate council on that. Number 5, Applewood Kia grant. I just want to personally thank Applewood Kia for their support in our community. Businesses such as this make supporting local business and industries very important and vital in embracing a strong commitment to our community. It should be acknowledged. The lawn bowling. Is the city contributing any money towards that lawn bowling? I believe that these types of events are an opportunity to show an appreciation for the people who made Canada what it is today, and it's an important event.
I can speak to that. Yes, the lawn bowling project is in our budget. I think it was about $45,000. They asked us to increase the budget because they wanted to do some additional work we're doing on their behalf, and that's the $5,682 that the Lawn Bowling Club is contributing in addition to the project.
Awesome. ICBC grants, the signal upgrade strategy, I'm wondering when that will be implemented? Any idea? Sorry to put you on the spot.
2 of the signals have been upgraded, and there's 1 being upgraded this year.
Great. On numbers 8 and 9, Roberts Bank Rail Corridor and the water main tie-in, I'm just concerned that we're holding enough deposit, security deposit, to make sure that we've got the work covered. And I guess that's more just a comment or a concern. I'm in the engineering field, and I know how sometimes not holding enough security allows people to walk away from the work that they're supposed to do. The Art Center feasibility. I see we're doing equal partnership on the funding, and I'm just wondering if we're going to have an equal partnership in all facets of the decision-making process.
Mr. Chung?
Your Worship, to Mr. Albrecht, that study has been completed. It was presented to council and all the partners within the last couple of months. As far as and it was a joint effort. We all each had our say and our input and into the feasibility study and the recommendation. There's been no commitment for further financial commitment at this point, so that's something that the respective partners need to discuss and consider moving forward.
Okay. The portable AEDs. Unfortunately, I was at a hockey tournament in Old Timers, of course, and we had a heart issue while someone was playing. And this was in Surrey, and there was AEDs available, as well as some very well-equipped and trained people around at the facilities. So something like this should be done as soon as possible. Let's worry about the cost sharing later. And we can't attach a dollar value to public safety, and something that should be done right away. So, and I thank you for the time.
I think our staff have an answer for you on that one.
Actually, it has been installed already, and when we originally went and did this project, the Lions Club was anticipating they'd give us $3,000, but they actually gave us $4,473, so we have a recovery, an extra bit of money that they're contributing to the project.
Great.
Our staff were ahead of you on that one. So, thank you.
Perfect. I just wanted to say, can I comment on some of the tables that are in the back here as well? I had one concern on the very last spreadsheet, and those were some escalating costs for engineering operations estimated in, let me see, well, protective services and engineering operations in years 2015 and 2016. And I'm kind of wondering why that is. Development services show that there's really no development going to be happening from, 2017 on, or no income from there. And then the utility, water and sewer utilities really spike next year, and I'm assuming that those are associated with the GVRD upgrades, but I'm not really sure. So we seem to be a little bit of an up and down phase over the next 5 years, so I was just wondering if someone could add some clarification there, please.
Mr. Light.
So today's amendments, we're talking about the year 2013. So those are the ones that are I guess, on that column. In 2015 and forward, I don't have the projects in front of me currently. Engineering operations, I can't comment on whether it's one specific project or just a number of them. This budget, we're now into 2014, and we have another schedule in the bylaw for that one. As far as development services, those are capital projects initiated by development services. That's not development happening in the community. So those are just that department's projects. And then on the utilities, there would be, on the water utility would be related to GVRD for sure. On the sewer utility, again, likely GVRD projects.
Okay. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for coming up to the mic. Is there anybody else who would like to comment? Seeing none? Councillor Hall?
On the big ticket item first, on the $2 million overrun. A question of staff, when was the 204 Street overpass funding approved as known at the time?
Yeah. Councillor Hall, you'll be able to ask this question later. This is the Committee of the Whole. This is to give the public the opportunity. So, Council.
On a point of disagreement, Committee of the Whole is an opportunity for Council as well to ask questions.
I'll take clarification then
as
from
an opportunity, as a clear opportunity that actually suspends the rules of normal debate and gives multiple opportunities to question. That's
I'll ask for clarification from our city clerk.
Committee of the Whole is intended for the public to give input. You may ask the public if you want clarification, but debate about the bylaw should be done under business arising from the Committee of the Whole when the bylaw is on the floor. The bylaw is not on the floor right now.
This is not debate, but the purpose of Committee of the Whole is to offer opportunity to both the public and Council to make inquiry. There is no debate here. I'm not making any specific points at this point, but simply seeking clarification from staff. I'll abide by your ruling, but what I'll suggest is that the mayor the acting mayor should be directing staff to further investigate the role and the purpose of Committee of the Whole at this point.
Well, we will now go into rise and report. At the Committee of the Whole, rise and report, I need a mover. Councillor Martin, Councillor Wallace. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Or against? Councillor Hall is against. So the next item is the adoption of the agenda. A motion that the agenda for May 5th, 2014, regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. I need a mover. Councillor Arnold. Councillor James. Councillor James.
May I speak to that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to, amend the agenda to allow for the delegations in the audience to be presented prior to, I'm sorry about the squeaking here, prior to sorry, I'm a little flustered here. Yeah, prior to the reading of the bylaw. My reasons being is we have a impressionable and lovely young gentleman who won Local Government Awareness Day. I would really like to make sure that this is a pleasant experience and allow for that presentation to happen before the debate of council on the financials. I'll second the motion.
Discussion at all? So we're moving the delegation.
Point of clarification.
Councillor Hall?
So you're changing the agenda, but the agenda as it reads right now has the delegations coming now. Well, it doesn't mind. Adoption of agenda, minutes, delegation.
Sorry, the agenda that has been distributed isn't the most current. There should be a business arising prior to the delegation.
Not on mine.
No. So we need to make that.
This is the most recent because it's on the desk.
It was my mistake, I'm sorry. This printed was not a current copy. Business arising from Committee of the Whole
Thank you.
comes after the adoption of the minutes.
I've got the sheet. So, all those in favor of moving the delegation portion up? Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting, I need a motion that the minutes of the last regular meeting held on April 14th, 2014 be adopted as circulated. I need a mover. Councillor Wallace, Councillor James, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Now we have, let's see now, delegations. So all three delegations have been moved up. We have Christy Kwan from BDO Dunwoody.
Mr. Mayor, may I just introduce the topic?
Yes.
So thank you very much. Today before you is our draft financial report for the year ended December 31st, 2013. I want to make a few brief comments and then answer any questions you may have. On page 47 of our agenda package, the financial statements are outlined the city management's responsibility to prepare the consolidated financial statements and ensure the accounting procedures and systems of internal control are in place to safeguard the city's assets. The auditors examine the financial statements, and with us, as already mentioned, is Ms. Christy Kwan from BDO Dunwoody LLP, and she'll speak to the audit report shortly. On page 48 of the financial statements, there's the statement of financial position, and you will see that the city has a net positive financial asset position of $38.2 million. The increase from the prior year is primarily due to the accumulation of cash and investment reserves in anticipation of two large projects that will be underway in 2014, those being the Timms Community Centre construction as well as the Toole Street utility replacement. The focus on the statement of financial position is on the final line of the statement, the accumulated surplus. We have an accumulated surplus of $251 million. The name of that accumulated surplus is a little bit confusing to some people because it definitely doesn't mean that council has the ability to go and spend that money. It reflects the long-term, tangible capital assets that the city already has in place and has invested in. It's more like the net worth of the city. Assets are significant economic resource managed by the city and are a key component in the delivery of the many services that we provide, like the distribution of water and sewage removal. Roads and buildings would also be included in this total. The asset increased by $10.3 million in 2013, less the $4.6 million in amortization expenses and disposal of assets like vehicles that are replaced. So over time, it's important to focus on this accumulated surplus number because it's the one that we will want to track. As assets age, and the accumulated surplus will then drop that value because of amortization. The city will want to ensure that we're maintaining and replacing our infrastructure assets. On page 49 of your agenda package is the statement of financial activities, showing all the city's revenues and expenses, which include the capital asset amortization. The overall operating surplus, which includes water, sewer, and general funds, was $9,033. To this, we add the increase in the tangible capital assets and the increase in the reserve balances to result in an overall surplus of $6.6 million. The operating surplus results from higher revenues and lower expenditures and a larger transfer to reserves. We directed $320,000 to the Capital Works Reserve and $104,000 to the Machinery Replacement Reserve. We had anticipated a larger operating surplus as part of our 2014 financial plan discussions. However, once we had completed the year-end adjustments and finalized the financial statements, for things like the internal equipment rental, the treatment of amortization expenses, we were closer to $430,000. In 2013, the financial plan bylaw amendment, as we initiated and we'll discuss further on later in the meeting, will allow for the over-expenditure in the water services, garbage recycling, as well as a larger transfer to reserves, as noted earlier. Without getting into too much more detail, that's what I wanted to draw council's attention to as far as our financial statements. I did want to take this opportunity to thank Graham Flack and the rest of the Corporate Services finance staff for the extra efforts that are made to complete the city's year-end financial statements each year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions before we turn it over to Ms. Kwan for her audit report.
Questions to Mr. Light at all? Seeing none, to
And I'll
Christie.
turn it over to Christy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. As Mr. Light has mentioned, my name is Christy Kwan, and I'm a senior manager with BDO and was on the audit team for the 2013 audit for the City of Langley. We have issued an unqualified audit report, which is the highest level of assurance. Can you hear? Am I echoing? Closer? Okay. We've issued an unqualified audit report. Is that better? Okay. Which is the highest level of assurance that we can give. We were given unrestricted access to the records as well as the staff that we had requested. Council had the opportunity last Friday to meet with Bill Cox, who was the audit engagement partner, and to discuss the audit in depth, and I believe all of the questions that were raised were adequately addressed. We would also like to thank the Corporate Services Finance Department for all of their cooperation during the audit. And if I'm here to answer any questions.
Questions? Councillor Hall?
The last time that the city had a significant overrun on a project, assurance was given that all financial controls would flag or raise issues. In this last audit, there's a note contained at the end about the $2 million settlement and overrun. Yet, in previous years, there were no notes to suggest that this item arising from as far back as 2007, a potential settlement, might arise, and here all of a sudden, surprise, it's here. So I recognize that one can't designate a dollar figure because you don't know what the settlement might be, but is there some manner in which the auditing of the city might flag a future potential overrun of this nature so that we're not caught by this element of surprise?
This was a legal judgment, and I can tell you that in all previous years, as well as current year, we've had discussions with legal counsel. And in previous years, legal counsel actually stated that there were no indications that a liability would result from this action. And the judgment that did come about was new information in this year. There is a general contingent liability disclosure in the financial statements stating that various legal claims of different magnitude and such were initiated, but the outcome of the claims were not reasonably determined, and that was determined to be deemed appropriate based on the information that we had from legal counsel at that point.
Well, okay, moving forward, that general statement in the audit report of every year suggests that perhaps there may be something come up. In this case, it's an interpretation by our legal advisors that perhaps they thought that they'd win on our behalf and it wouldn't arise. So if, as a council member that's trusted by the public to keep a handle on the financials, if the quarterly reports have nothing to indicate that this is out there, if the year-end financials don't disclose that, and the auditor's report doesn't disclose, how in the future can I, as a councillor, be prepared for something of the magnitude of a $2 million overrun if none of the overseers of the financials bring that to my attention?
Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll try to answer that. So we know that there was a lawsuit undertaken. We knew that the lawsuit was going forward. It actually went to court in September. We didn't know the outcome of that until actually this year in January, February. When we go to write our financial statements, prepare our financial statement notes, we really have to look at whether or not the advice we're getting from the lawyers that are representing us can quantify the magnitude of the outcome potentially. If we don't know the outcome, we can't really quantify it ourselves. We wouldn't be making a reasonable judgment. So certainly in the future, we can advise council in our quarterly reports if we have a settlement, that happens before the annual end of the year, the annual financial statements are prepared. But in this case, in 2013 is when this actually happened, and we're reporting on that year, and that's why the note is in the financial statements in 2013.
And as auditors, we didn't have any indication that there would be a future potential liability that would arise based on the correspondence we'd had with legal counsel.
Well, let me clarify that. That you had earlier suggested that you're in communication with the lawyers. So the lawyers at least would have advised you of the date of the lawsuit, I would assume.
We knew that action had been taken, but there were no amounts. There was no indication, as they had said to us, that there would be a liability arising.
Well, it's just an assumption that you're going to win, rather than budgeting or placing a contingency in the financials such that in the worst case scenario and you lose, you're prepared to accommodate that. Obviously, there was a court date set. Unfortunately, council only learned or at least this councillor only learned of the settlement through something that he read in the paper.
To our Director of Finance, Mr. Light, the amount that came out in the court case, that only came out recently. I'd just like to, because there was no amount going back to any time. The amount that was requested in the courts was a recent amount.
Right. At the end of January, beginning of February, the courts determined what the settlement would be. The judge made his ruling in 2014.
Right. So there was no amounts previous to that.
No.
And then, if I stand corrected, but do we not have a reserve accounts or surplus accounts that we can draw monies from when it's required in a case like this?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. Further questions of Christy? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next gentleman coming up is Nigel Tom. He's for Fibromyalgia Wellspring Foundation. And I invite Mr. Tom to come and speak.
We'll get our slides up for you.
The consideration of the event reports was within the delegations,
No.
so that should be done first.
Okey-dokey.
So you need your motion to adopt the financial statements.
Sorry about that, Mr. Tom.
It's okay.
We're just going through, because we've rearranged the agenda and we've done some switching around. I just have to do one prior clarification here, is that the consideration of the admin report 2013 for the consolidated financial statements be adopted. And I need to move it. Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Arnold. Discussion. Is that clear to the clerk? All those in favor? There's lots of procedural stuff.
Yeah, well, council comes first.
I've got about 5 pieces of paper and my city clerk up there, so thank you for your
I
patience.
can understand it, don't worry.
So, fibromyalgia.
Good evening, Acting Mayor Schaefer, members of council and senior staff. I appreciate the time that you're giving us this evening. We've got a short slide presentation that we'd like to go through, and where is it?
It's starting.
Okay, go for it. This is our office manager, Laura Rippin. She's going to be pushing the buttons for me. I've made some comments on some of these slides. The first one is really easy. Where are you? You're already on the second one. Huh?
I'm on the first slide.
Okay. I can't see the slides, that's the problem. Anyway, on this one, my comment is that we are the only registered Canadian charity that deals directly with the person that has fibromyalgia. Everybody else seems to be doing research or working with doctors. Nobody has taken the time to see what the actual individual needs. So that's why this foundation was set up 7 years ago. Okay, that's very easy to understand. My comment on this one is that somebody that has this type of serious illness, whether it be fibromyalgia, MS, cancer, or whatever, 92% of the spouses of somebody with this disease will leave and abandon the person with the disease, which leaves them mostly single mothers on social services or long-term disability with no support. And that's one of the other reasons that this foundation was founded by Cheryl Young, to make sure that these people get some sort of help, support, and direction. Okay, we have support groups in Surrey, Langley, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and one online on Facebook that's got about 320 members. So we're right across the country, right across the province. Public education. We are out in the public all the time at the various fairs, at Canada Days, at your festival in Douglas Park, International Festival. We do some in the province whenever we can get out there. Our traveling mobile office and support center and counseling center, we took it last year to Rock Creek Fair in the fall. We got to the other side of Sawyers on the top of the hill, blowing the tires. We then find out that the 1997 motorhome is still driving on the 1997 tires. And we were told by the tire company that they should have been changed years ago. So I'm now desperately looking for a donation of 6 tires for the motorhome so that we can put it back on the road and do some more of our support work outside of the Lower Mainland. Thrift shop, and thank you very much for the grant that you gave us this year. We appreciate it. It's going to be able to give us the ability to do more awareness. This is the 4th anniversary, was last year. The 5th is coming in August? July. And we are trying again to get the best of the best for the thrift shop. We've had it 3 years in a row. We're going to have a good shot at it this year. And thank you, I appreciate it, Councillor James, for the information this evening. We are having a big impact on the local communities. We work very closely with St. Joseph's Church. They get a lot of our blankets and jackets and socks and shoes and everything so that the homeless get a good shot at what they need. We look after them. If they come into the store when it's wet and cold in the winter, we will just take the clothes, give them dry ones and send them back on their way. We are doing as much recycling as possible with anything that we cannot use in the thrift shop. Okay, now, we nominated Cheryl Young for the Courage to Come Back Award. She was one of the finalists. The recipient of the Arthritis Society, the Mary Pack Award, Circle of Excellence, sorry, gentlemen and ladies. We were awarded that by the Arthritis Society of British Columbia. We also, I put up Cheryl as one of the Flower Dew in the Township Awards. She was one of the 4 finalists, and we lost out to Bob Long's wife. Hey, it's a councillor, right? So I'm going to put up for it next year because Diane can't win it again next year. Anyway, past events. Fibromyalgia celebration dinner. We're holding it again next Monday. Both councils are in session, so I can't put out an invitation for any of you ladies and gentlemen to join us, so maybe next year. We are very pleased that we did a Ford Drive test drive, and we raised $1,260 with it. We might well do another one, but we're thinking about it. Western Hoedown. We hold a Western Hoedown at a farm in South Aldergrove where we have a barn dance, barbecue, bring the kids out, have a petting zoo. Very, very well attended. We're going to be doing it again this year in August, and if any of you would like to come out, there's an open invitation to you. We had a Neil Diamond impersonator come out, and we did a really good charity event. We had a lot of fun. The lady with the red hat on Neil's left, on my right, is the spokesperson for the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia. She is also part of our Chilliwack support group, and she is a very well looked after lady. Both they and us look after her very well. Future events, right? Past events. What do we got? Oh, Gradnell Wedding Fair. We held that in the Douglas Park Hall, and as you can see, the dresses were absolutely fantastic. They were really well dressed. The gentlemen and the ladies that were doing the modeling did a great job. We have the leftover dresses available in the thrift shop if anybody needs a grad dress for somebody. Hey, pitch, right? Now, this we are going to enjoy, and I understand that a couple of the council members will be out walking with us on Saturday. We just hope it's not raining too hard. So,
No worse than yesterday.
well, it can't be worse than yesterday. Record rainfalls in White Rock since 1920. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so we're looking forward to all of you coming out and doing a walk with us. We've got the travelling kitchen from the White Spot coming, so come and have lunch. The White Spot will be serving. We're going to have a warm-up. I'm trying to get a bagpiper to come out with us if he'll walk around with us. So please come out and join us for that event. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, National Fibromyalgia Day is May 12th. We are going to have Bobby Bruce, Neely Neal come out. That's next Monday night. I can't invite you because you've got a session, but if you know anybody that would like to come, that would be great. The other thing I can ask, if you would like to, please donate a ticket or 2 tickets so that we can send somebody from our support group that can't afford to go because they would really like to go. Perpetual, we're asking for support of National Fibromyalgia Day, May 12th. National Fibromyalgia Canada has asked for purple lights to be lit in all of the public buildings or buildings across Canada to support it. On my 2 cents worth, if you wouldn't mind wearing something purple, a purple tie, a purple sweater, a purple shirt, a purple blouse, it would certainly be appreciated to show support for fibromyalgia right across the country. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Any questions?
Questions from council at all? Councillor Arnold.
I'm not sure, but do you happen offhand to know the size of the tires you need?
The size of what?
The size of the tires that you need?
225, 16, 225, 75, 16, I think. But if you would like that size, I'll find out for you and get back to you.
Okay. Leave your number with, or
I
give your
shall
number now, whichever way.
Paula has the number, she's got it.
I have some, I'm just not sure what size they are.
Oh, okay. Thank you, I appreciate that. But Paula has the number, and she'll give it to you when you've finished. Thank you. Any other questions?
Questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for the very entertaining
Thank you for your
presentation.
time.
And we'll see you on the weekend.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Local Government Awareness Day recognition. And Councillor James is going up to the mic to introduce a few people.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. We have a very special young man in the audience, and before I introduce him, I just want to say you also learned the value of patience tonight, Ethan, so thank you very much for that, buddy. Local Government Awareness Day takes place once a year, and it's an opportunity for our grade 5 students throughout our city, grade 4 and 5 if they're split classes, we turn away no one, to come to City Hall and experience for an hour some of the different departments and things that we do here. So we've been doing it, I don't know how many years now. Gerald, you probably remember better than I do. It's been at least 9 or 10 or 11. So in addition to thanking a few people this evening, we also have some very important sponsors in the audience that I'm going to be asking to come up as well, because they have continued over the years to support this this event that takes place in our city. So I first of all want to thank members of council for making yourselves available as tour guides that day. You had an opportunity to mold some very young and impressionable minds, and I appreciate your time every year. Staff, again, every department contributes, whether it's through tour. Sorry, I'm talking to you guys. I know these guys. Whether it's through putting together one of the tour components, or commitment for the goodie bags, or just even organizing stuff. There is one member of staff that I want to thank particularly, and that's Paula, our Deputy Corporate Officer. Literally without her, this day doesn't happen. She takes, works with me from start to finish, organizing everything. Paula, unending appreciation for everything you do to make this happen every year. So what happens every year as a component of this is one of our very special sponsors comes on board and sponsors a poster contest. And what that entails is all the grade 5 students are invited to complete a poster. And this year's theme was, I gotta get it absolutely right, it's about saving energy, how I save energy. And this is agreed upon by this very special sponsor, and then all the kids are invited to participate. They come in by the hundreds, literally. 263 students went through City Hall this year. And the librarians are tasked with the very difficult decision of selecting the winner. So without further ado, Ethan, can you please come up here with me? This is what you've been waiting for. All that other stuff was for this moment. So Ethan is a very special grade 5 student at Alice Brown Elementary. And our understanding is that you like to draw, you like doing cartoon strips and stuff like that. Is that what they're called? That's what they're called when I was a kid. They're probably called comics. Okay, so he likes to draw comics. So he's interpreted that amazing skill of his into a poster for this year. And Ethan, what we did, because we thought it was a pretty cool thing that you did, I'm going to scrunch it. We had our very talented math department turn it into a great big one for you. So that is yours to take. This is the talent that we witnessed, the level of talent that we witnessed at Local Government Awareness Day. And this is Ethan's poster that got him the recognition. So I'm going to give that actually to your mom. Your mom, you can roll that back up. And in addition to winning the poster contest and being invited here this evening, Ethan also won a sponsored McDonald's lunch for his entire classroom coming up next week. And so you're kind of the hero in your classroom too, I would imagine, eh? So would you like to say a few words? Are you sure? Okay, I gave him the option at the start and said no pressure, so I can appreciate that. We have something else for you, Ethan, and I will read it for you. On behalf of Langley City Council, congratulations to you, Ethan Boziak, winner of the local, is that how you say it? Cool. Winner of the Local Government Awareness Day, How Do You Save Energy contest. Your humorous and thought-provoking submission, which is what the librarian said, successfully delivered the message of the importance of energy conservation. Thank you for being an excellent example of the spirit that makes the City of Langley the place to be. And this is officially signed by myself as the organizer, Mayor Schaefer, and Paula. So congratulations. And as soon as I finish talking, you can actually go, Ethan. In no order of importance, I have two sponsors here this evening that I would like to recognize. Again, as I mentioned, ongoing contributors to Local Government Awareness Day. The day simply wouldn't come together without them either, and their unending support. So first I'd like to ask from McDonald's Restaurants of Canada, Baljeet Gill, to come up here, please. Baljeet is the manager of the Langley City Restaurant. And what McDonald's does for us every year is they provide hundreds of coupons for the kids' goodie bags. But then in addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, they also provide the lunch for the kids, and that includes the teachers and myself, Acting Mayor Schaefer, and the parents of Ethan. So actually we're coming there, I think, next Wednesday. And yeah, it's just an all-inclusive lunch. It's fantastic. It's been going on for years now. So we have this for you. And again, not to reiterate, but we extend our sincere thanks for the continued support of Local Government Awareness Day and enhancing the experience of everyone involved in promoting future participation in education. So thank you very much, Baljeet. And unlike Ethan, I'm sure you'd like to say a few words. Not really?
No, I appreciate welcoming McDonald's in and just the support that Langley has given to us, especially over our upcoming day, McHappy Day, coming up in 2 days. And I'll be excited to see you there as well at my restaurant. So thank you for that, and thank you for this. And thank you. I'm honored.
So somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30, and I'm hoping one or two of my colleagues might come.
I'm excited to see you guys there.
Thank you.
I plan to rock the drive-through, just so you know.
You got the drive-through?
I'm rocking the drive-through this year.
Okay. Wednesday, McHappy Day.
Wednesday. And last but absolutely not least, I'd like to welcome Amy Hennessy from Fortis BC up to the front. Please, my friend. She is the Community Relations Manager. And Fortis BC recognizes not only the importance of saving energy, I don't want to steal your spiel, but also the importance of educating young minds with Local Government Awareness Day. And for years and years now, they have supported this event by contributing $100 for each classroom that participates in Local Government Day and the poster contest, recognizing that it's becoming more and more challenging for teachers to make decisions on which field trips they go on and things like that. Incentives help, but we also know that teachers can make $100 stretch a long ways for books in their classrooms. So Amy, I have something for you, and I know you're going to say something. So again, just the ongoing contribution of Fortis BC recognizes an excellent example of the spirit that makes us the place to be, and just your importance, or your participation, how important it is ongoing year after year. So very, very much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.
So, of course, I'm going to say something. I'm not as tall as you.
No.
Okay. Fortis BC is really pleased to be involved with this day. This is my 11th year. So it's gone, and it was happening before me. Of course, I'm the oldest one here involved in it. But anyway, and we realize how important this day is. It's unique and special. So congratulations to the City of Langley, to its dynamic leader, Terry James and Paula, to the teachers who steward this program with the kids, and to Ethan and the other students that participate. So on the subject of saving energy, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we have a super cool tool, new tool on our website that compares home energy heating costs from different home energy heating methods, and also the cost of appliances. So if you were thinking about an appliance or how much it costs to heat your home, just go to fortisbc.com/energy calculator, and it's a great tool. We're really thrilled to be involved in this day, and congratulations to everybody who's involved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for coming. Fortis has been a great supporter of this, and the city and the residents really appreciate Fortis's support in you giving back to the community like that. Thank you.
So thank you very much, all of you, for showing up and coming and sitting through the housekeeping items at the onset, and sticking through to the recognition component, and I appreciate every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have business rising from the Committee of the Whole, and this was the item that we dealt with earlier. This was Bylaw 2926, a financial plan, and I need a motion for a first reading, and this is, and of course this is the amended one that has number 4 out of it. So I need a mover. Second reading? Oh, pardon me, second reading. Second and third? Second and third. And that is with the item 4 out of there. Councillor Martin, Councillor James, discussion. Councillor Hall.
Okay, I'll go back to the questions that I was going to raise earlier. So this is an amendment to the 2013, but really the project goes back much further. It goes to a time before I was on council. So the question to ask would be, when was this signed off? What was the date of signing off the original contract for the 204 overpass?
To staff.
I don't have the precise month and day, but it was in 2005 that we actually implemented this.
Okay, 2005. Now, the budget settlement has raised this project to $39 million at this point. In 2005, what was the original budgeted amount, not counting the contingency?
That would have been $35,400,000, and then we had a $1.5 million contingency for a total project of $36,900,000.
So, since 2005, the city has suggested that it's been debt-free, when in fact the possibility of that overrun has hung over its head since then. So it sort of calls into question the claim that the city's been debt-free. So, as part of that settlement, which is how many $1 million over the original budgeted amount? The amount that we are about to approve or disapprove of right now?
About $2 million.
It's $2 million. What component of that represents interest on the money that, if we had settled back in 2005, I guess the question to ask before that is, was there an attempt to settle this item prior to 2005? I guess at the outset of planning this, was there an attempt to settle this particular piece of land as opposed to expropriating? So that must have been a decision made by the council of the day at that time.
Staff?
Your Worship, to Councillor Hall. Yeah, this was an expropriation, and it falls under the Expropriation Act of BC. Normally what happens is that we undertake our appraisal in terms of determining the land value of the land. In 2005, the city did pay the property owners what we believe was the property value of the land. Recognizing that under the Expropriation Act, there was always an opportunity for the property owners to seek a claim for business loss arising from the land take. We have been in the process since 2005 to 2013, up to September 2013, to negotiate and settle with the property owners. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and it wasn't without trying from the city's perspective. We went to trial, and unfortunately, the judge ruled against the city with the decision, and we now have to pay $2 million in payment to the property owners.
All right, so pursuing that, I'm just trying to get the background history on this. So there was always the option for the city to have settled prior to this going to court, but we've gone the long route. So what amount of interest is involved in this $2,000 overrun, and to what extent does the province, who are to be 50-50 partners on this, absorb the legal fees or the interest that has accrued as a result of the delay in settling this from 2005 to 2014?
Staff?
So the total interest costs were $700,000. That's included in the $2 million. The province is contributing 50%, and they actually have paid that already.
Okay, thank you. So the money's not directly coming from the city taxpayer. Half of it is coming from the city taxpayer in terms of provincial funds that they're providing through whatever taxation sources that the province has. But either way, it's $2 million, and it's over the original budget that had a contingency that in theory would accommodate unforeseen circumstances. So this is not only gone over the original budget, it's gone over the contingency, and it's gone well over that. So we're looking at a project that has a $2 million overrun, and I'll return to the point that I was trying to make earlier. I'm not against the settlement as it is. I think we have an obligation to deal with a matter that has been handled in the courts. The difficulty I have is the transparency of this whole process, whereby something that took place in 2005 certainly wasn't flagged to me as a councillor in 2013, other than a single meeting that actually happened after the court settlement was reported in the local paper. So for me to attempt to get a handle on a cost overrun of this magnitude, I think that I need more timely information. As you suggested earlier, perhaps in quarterly reports, if something is settled, that comes forward. But I think that going forward, if we have a potential liability, we either have to have banked a contingency that's targeted to a specific item of this nature, and not just money that's placed in general reserve. Where we're taking the money from is casino revenues largely, but that means other projects fall by the wayside in order to settle this particular claim. The argument has always been, well, we're debt-free. We're a very fortunate city that we've been able to pay off all of our debts with casino funds. And once again, that's what we're doing here, and I don't disagree with that. But some of our capital reserves are surplus from operating funds that are shifted over. 330,000 of 2013 funds were shifted to general capital reserve. And if we want to move forward with projects that we had planned over the next few years, this is the 2013 to 2017 plan, we'll be accessing that. So the argument could be made that the taxpayer of 2013, who contributed more taxation than they really had to because we had a surplus of $650,000, is paying for a decision that was made back in 2005 by a number of councillors that are still here.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. I would just say that there is an ongoing city. The capital costs are, you may, as a council, redirect some funding. And at the end of the day, we have a very good overpass project with funding that was redirected. And to the staff, this has been an ongoing process for quite a while. I believe as all council members, we've had some kind of discussion with staff over the years, and the amount did not come finalized until this year, January or February, and that was deemed by the court. So, and we're taking, we're in partnership with the province on this, with legals on both sides. So I'd like to ask the city administrator if he had anything else to add on to that.
Yeah, Your Worship, I just want to clarify one point that Council Hall made. Between February 21st, 2011 till April 2nd, 2012, staff did provide an update to City Council on this litigation issue, and Council Hall was in attendance in every single one of those closed council meetings. So I just want to clarify that point. Staff has made every effort to inform council on this issue. Obviously, we were trying, as I said earlier, to negotiate with the property owners on this claim. Unfortunately, they didn't pursue until the very last minute, and that's why it dragged out for this long, until 2012. And even up to September, prior to the judgment, we were still trying to negotiate a settlement with the property owners. Unfortunately, they did not pursue that, and like I said earlier, the judge ruled against the city. I just wanted to make that very clear to council.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Hall made a point of stating that he was not on council in 2005. Yeah, he wasn't. I think his sole purpose is to throw those of us who were on council in 2005 under the bus. And I would like to ask staff, and maybe the rest of council, is that when we approved this budget in 2005, did we have a crystal ball to know that we were going to be fined over $2 million?
Your Worship, the Councilor Martin, no, we did not. We didn't know about the property value itself to pay for it. But
exactly.
We didn't know what the claim was going to be for the business loss.
Right. So, I mean, I know that it's being referred to as an overrun. How can you ever project what a court? We could have won the suit, and it would have been fine. And I don't think that in 2005 we probably would have done anything different. None of us knew that this was going to happen, and there's nothing we can do. And yeah, it would have been great to win the case, and we feel that some things weren't looked at properly by the presiding judge, but that's out of our hands. We were fined, we got to pay it, and that's all there is to it. And again, I'll say that in 2005, I don't think we would have done anything different, because we could never have predicted that this was going to happen some 8 years later.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. So, on the you got another item? Okay, go ahead, Councilor Hall.
Okay, so I've had my say on the 204 overpass, but I'd like to have a say on one of the other items, and that's the curb bulges. Now, the magnitude is considerably different. We're talking in this case of, what are we at now? It's up to curb bulges. What's the amount? 85,000 or something?
99,480.
Oh, my goodness, 99,000. So when we discuss this at budget time, I believe the figure, alongside all the other decisions that we might make, was somewhere in the neighborhood of $65,000. And so at budget time, it makes sense that you put all sorts of different projects on the table and you prioritize and you make some tough choices. We argue back and forth about paring the budget here or there so that we might accommodate this kind of thing. But this particular cosmetic improvement is in addition to the $1 million that we did at McBurney Lane. So cosmetic improvements are taking a giant chunk out of the available money that's coming largely from casino funds. Now, I'm seeing an amendment here that comes straight to the table without any kind of alternative. We've sent this project out to tender. It was a 2013 project. We're in 2014 and it still hasn't been done. The bids come in too high. Surely the alternative that might have been presented here would be shall we not stick to the original budget rather than doing an amendment to increase it and perhaps reduce the scope of the project if no one out there is going to tender at what our projection was? If we don't have that kind of alternative at the table here, it really ties the hands of myself as a councillor in determining any budget matter, because I might have those lengthy debates at budget time, and really they're an exercise in futility. If staff's simply going to come later and say, oh, by the way, that budget item is increased by 38%, and would you please just stamp it and move along? It's packaged in such a way that, yeah, you might well lose that 85,000 given the magnitude of the 2 million one that's above it. But I still think that that's not right. I think that it should come back to council with the option of approve this as an amendment, embrace an alternative that perhaps holds the budget and you do whatever you can, or kill the project. There should be two other options than what's presented here. So while I agree with a bunch of these items, all 12, my attempt to pull the big one out of there at least would have allowed us a little bit of time to debate some of the smaller ones and the merit of those. Perhaps I should have suggested that this one specifically be pulled out and then we go forward with the ones that I approve. So I'll vote against this overall package. I was going to anyway because I disagree with the dispensation or the final of the 204 overpass, but I really disagree with the curb bulges as well.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor? Against? Councillor Hall is against. We have community spotlight tonight, and we have Joe Hardwett, who's the Development Director for Ronald McDonald House in BC. And would you like to come up to the mic? And Councillor Arnold and myself met Mr. Hardwett at an opening in Willowbrook Mall about a month ago, and he was the recipient of, I should say Ronald McDonald House was the recipient of some funds raised by a new store, I should say, in Willowbrook.
Tommy Guns, yes.
Yeah, have a seat and tell us all about Ronald McDonald House.
Certainly will. Yes, and Mayor and Council, staff, thank you very much for having me tonight. It was nice to be here when the young fellow got his award too, with McDonald's as the sponsor, and McHappy Day is coming up, so thank you for listening tonight. How's that? Okay. So as I mentioned, and just I'm Joe Hargan, the Development Director at Ronald McDonald House, and there is an existing house in Vancouver and a new house being built that, whoops, excuse me, that is going to replace the current house, but I'm here to speak primarily about the family room at the Surrey Memorial Hospital. So as I go through this, I'll give you an idea. Not everybody's always clear what Ronald McDonald House does, what its mandate is, and so I'm hoping after this evening, and I won't take more than 10 minutes, I'm sure, perhaps less. I don't know if I can be as entertaining as Nigel, but you will leave here knowing something about our family room. So just to talk a little bit about what Ronald McDonald House is and isn't, it is a home away from home for families who have a sick child with a life-threatening illness. And Ronald McDonald House has been around since the 1970s. There are almost 320 around the world. One in British Columbia, as I say, in Vancouver, that serves British Columbia, Yukon, and some parts of Western Canada. And the good news is that the family room that I'm going to be talking about tonight is the very first family room in a hospital in Western Canada. There are 12 across the country. So our mission at Ronald McDonald House is a nurturing magical home away from home for sick children and their families, where together their lives are enhanced through unconditional support, encouragement, friendship, and love. And what that means is that we are not a medical facility. What we do is we provide the accommodation for families when they come to the hospital. In this case, it's going to be Surrey Memorial, which is a regional hospital serving Fraser Valley, and that's why I'm here tonight. I will also be serving Langley. Not sure, oh, I must have this on a timer, is that what it is? I think so. I think it's telling me to speed up. Okay, I can beat that. Okay, so where our families are from. Some of these slides are going to pertain to the existing house and the large house, but it'll be part of our overview. Where our families come from currently, as you can see, are throughout the province. Many from Vancouver Island, the Okanagan, Nelson area, the Kootenays, but we never really serve families in the Lower Mainland because they are in the Lower Mainland, and the theory is they can go to the hospital and they can go home. What you're going to see is maybe what's lacking in that type of an approach. This slide represents what we try to do there and the hierarchy of it, but at the end of the day, what it's really about is it's about healing. When families can stay together, the child does better, and the family, when they're separate, clearly the siblings are separated. Quite often we don't realize what happens, and I want to just put this on hold for a sec, because I want to quickly tell a story about, there's a family there right now, and this is how quickly your life can change. Audrey, the little girl, her mother noticed, this family's from Prince George, the mother noticed that the pupil of her eye was starting to get smaller, just in the course of a week. It's very unusual, and she thought, well, that's kind of odd. Then she noticed a lump in her neck here, and she kept an eye on that, and within a few weeks, she realized that something isn't right. The lump was growing. Took her to the hospital in Prince George, and the doctor said, you have to go to BC Children's immediately. She has cancer in her jaw. And that was how quickly their lives turned around. She has a husband and a son back in Prince George, Audrey's brother, a little older brother, and when they land in Vancouver, they have no friends, relatives, or anywhere to go in terms of where you're going to stay. And I think it's important, I'm going to mention a quick aside, is that we don't often think about things like when the presentation about fibromyalgia, when you said 92% of partners leave, I thought, wow, that's rough. What these families go through is rough as well. If you end up at Ronald McDonald House, particularly the current house, it really is the last door on the block, because you're probably financially strapped too. And if you have to go to a hotel, most of us would eat up through our savings pretty quickly. So what Ronald McDonald House does, it provides a home away from home for families in that situation. The mother I'm talking, by the way, and her daughter have been there since October. They've been down to Seattle for 6 weeks because of the treatment that they needed down there. It's because she's so young, the symmetry of her face is affected by the treatment, by the radiation, so it required ultra specialists to deal with that. Incredibly family. It's a family that's made an impact on me, I can tell you, and that's why I share the story, because you look at that, and Ronald McDonald House is a place of hope. It's not a hospice, a very positive place, because right away families find something inside themselves that they need to pass on to the child, because the child quite often doesn't realize how serious the situation is, and the brothers and sisters, they're just making jokes like, what happened to your hair? You know, like it's surprising how real it is. And most of the kids get better. I'm digressing a little bit from my script here, but I want to tell you that one of the things about the type of accommodation Ronald McDonald House provides is it's growing all the time. And that is because they've made incredible strides in treating childhood cancer particularly. Most of our children are oncology patients, so that means that the survival rate is so much higher. That's the good news, but they're being treated longer and the population is growing. So that combination is really increase the demand, which will bring us back to the family room, which is why we're trying to provide this service, and I'll put some numbers around that. So this is, I will go through these slides quickly, but the new house, which again is not why we're here, but to put some numbers, currently we have 13 rooms, and we take care of 400 families a year. At the new house, we'll be able to take care of 2,300 families. And the family room is going to be able to serve 5,000 families, and the demand in the province for long-term stay is about 5,000. So you can see there's still a gap, and I'll explain why we'll be able to do so much more with the family room, why it's a very effective type of a service. So those are construction photos. I'm happy to say that this is the kitchen, one of 4. All the fridges and stoves and range tops are in. We're actually going to be moving in 2 weeks. So this is a little bit behind, but this gives you an idea of what this is about. And this is a typical suite. In the current house, they all share the bathrooms. They have a sink sometimes, and sometimes in a very small room there can be 4 or 5 family members. So the new house with the 73 rooms becomes the 5th largest in the world and 2nd largest in Canada. So it's a whole new ball game. This is typical of millwork in the room. But now we're at the family room. So because the Surrey Hospital is a fully serviced regional hospital and it'll serve Fraser Valley, that's why I'm here tonight. It has pediatric care, and it'll include emergency, a neonatal intensive care unit. This is the reception area of Ronald McDonald House family room. And when you come into this room, you'll be check in, and then off to your left is this area here, where you will see there's a kitchen in the corner. This is not furnished yet, but it'll be furnished this week and opening on June 2nd. And families can come in and they can use the laundry. They can make something to eat. There's a shower available for them, and they could just sit back in a lounge area. So if any of you have had the experience of being in a hospital for an extended period of time, and you go down to the cafeteria, or in this case, you might have to drive back home to Langley just to shower and get right back, but many times you can't even leave for that short amount of time. This is going to give you that option. We're very excited about it. So those 4 rooms are for overnight stays. And it could also be that maybe someone has appointments to that day. It's a long day. They can come in and use it, perhaps spend the night if they come in late in an emergency situation. There's a fireplace here. And the 4 rooms are in the back. So just in summary, and I also want to quickly touch on McDonald's role. McDonald's is Ronald McDonald House is the charity of choice for McDonald's. It's grown much bigger. And in order for them to expand the service, it is a community-based charity. McDonald's supplies about 12% of our annual budget, and provides a lot more through their relationships with suppliers and vendors, et cetera. But we are community-based. We have a $750,000 capital campaign going on for the family room. The family room will open, but we are about $200,000 shy of that goal. So that is one of the reasons I'm here today, is to spread the word of the family room and to let you know this capital campaign has not ended, but also to really to increase your awareness and to let you know that folks in Langley will be using the service as well. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Joe. So at the end of the day here now, you're saying that you're $200,000 short?
Correct.
For the family room at Surrey Memorial Hospital?
That's right. Yeah.
And can people donate at any McDonald's store?
Yes, they can. As a matter of fact, great question. I forgot to mention that McHappy Day. Some of the funds from McHappy Day, of course, will go to Ronald McDonald House and the family room, and that is a big day for us. But you can always go online to our website at www.rmhpc.ca, and there's a heading under family room. We'll give you updates, and you'll be able to make donations directly to the family room.
And people can get a tax receipt for this?
Absolutely. Anything over $20.
Thank you. Questions from council at all? Councillor Arnold.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, and I'm very glad that you made this presentation, because when it said a family room, I pictured those little rooms that they have in the hospitals where there's toys and things for kids to play with.
Well, I'm very glad I made the presentation too. No, these are 4 rooms with a bed and a shower and a television, and it's like a small hotel room.
But, but when it said room,
Right.
That's what I was thinking, and I thought, they must have one in Surrey. I think I've seen one there.
Yeah, yeah, no, great question.
But yeah, so thanks for the presentation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Hall?
Looking at the larger facility, the one with 73 units in it, I'm just wondering why a number of smaller places aren't developed where people would perhaps be encouraged to accommodate these people into their homes, like in an available suite or something like that. So is there like a counseling component that comes along with this that makes it more viable to have that many needy families housed in one unit rather than dispersed throughout?
Yeah, good question. I'll try to give you a short answer on that, but the existing house, to put some numbers around it, and I should have mentioned too, there's no charge to families at the family room. Families at the main house are asked to contribute $12 a night, but they don't have to. But our actual cost is about $157 a night. Moving to the new larger house, that cost is going to come down to about $80 a night. They'll still be asked to contribute $12. So you have economies of scale when we're in one place, but also we're a registered charity, and I think it would be, from a cost perspective, very difficult to control that. But what you've raised is a valid point. I mean, again, there are families out there that are going to need places to stay. That's outside of our mandate, but a great idea. And I think sometimes this does happen, but probably through other services. Yeah.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for the time.
The next item we have is the President of Search Manager of Central Fraser Valley Search and Rescue, CFVSR, and Lee Holzak. And I'd like to invite you to come down and share some information.
Great. Thank you very much for taking the time here this evening, your busy agenda, to allow me to do this presentation. I'm the Lee Holchek. I'm the president, and I'm a search manager with Central Fraser Valley Search and Rescue Society. Our society services the municipalities of the City of Abbotsford, the Township of Langley, and the City of Langley. This week is Emergency Preparedness Week throughout Canada, and as part of that, the Central Fraser Valley Search and Rescue is part of the Langley and Township Emergency Program. We work closely with Ginger Sherlock here as part of your staff in dealing with any of the plannings for any emergencies that may occur in your municipality. Just a little bit about us and our team. Over the past few years, we average between 30 and 50 calls a year. Of course, not all those calls happen in the City of Langley with us serving the 3 municipalities, but we do get some calls out here occasionally as well. Some of the incidents that we respond to can be anything from disasters to inland water searches, ground searches, body recoveries, evidence searches for the police, or rescue situations, with the largest of our component being ground searches. A typical incident for us being within the City of Langley would be a search for an Alzheimer's or a dementia patient, as well as any missing children. We've also responded to many disasters that happen within communities, assisting with evacuations. One being in Abbotsford, being the tanker spill that happened a few years ago. We assisted with all the evacuations there. Our team does work anywhere within the province under the Emergency Management BC. And by doing that, we've gone up to Kelowna as well for the wildfires that were there a little over a decade ago now, assisting with evacuations during that as well. Some of the different things that our team can partake in is assisting the police in locating lost persons, searches on land and inland water, missing children, Alzheimer's patients, or lost or overdue hikers. We do embankment and vertical rope rescue. We'll rescue mountain bikers, ATV or dirt bike injuries, recover deceased persons, paragliders, accidents, airplane and helicopter crashes. The most recent plane crash that we attended was the one just outside Abbotsford. It was on the news a while ago, where we located the plane within a large field area that was flying during inclement weather. Our team is also trained in avalanche rescue. We're able to provide communications for large-scale emergencies. We assist in evacuations, as I mentioned before. We also assist with the Provincial Emergency Program, Emergency Management BC, and responding to community disasters. We have 3 watercraft that allow us to rescue injured persons in the water, any boaters in distress, flat lake flood and swift water rescue. We do any MVAs in ditches and rivers, and provide mutual aid to other SAR groups throughout the province. Our annual funding comes from 3 main sources. We are funded by the municipalities that we serve, with Langley City, all based on population is what our funding is. So Langley City last year gave us $3,730 towards our budget. And then the township and City of Abbotsford for a total budget of $37,880. We apply for gaming funds through the province. That can range anywhere from $0 to $100,000 a year, depending on how the province is feeling that year and what we can get in on. We try every year. That helps us with our capital projects and things like that. Our annual funding that's provided to us by the municipalities allows us to insure and maintain our vehicles, keep our phones lines up and running, handle any of the maintenance costs or any reoccurring costs, so that if we do not get that funding each year from the province, we are still able to be operational. As well, we get operational funding from Emergency Management BC, and that number varies directly on number of calls we go out on. So the idea is from EMBC is that they reimburse us based on our costs when we are out on an operation. So the cost of the helicopters we use do not need to come out directly out of our own budget. It's covered through EMBC. We have 37 active members right now, 23 regular members, 14 members in training. Of those members, we have 15 that are ground search team leaders. We have 4 search managers. According to EMBC policies, we must have 1 search manager available at all times for any incident. We have 8 rope rescue team members and 2 rope rescue team leaders. We have 9 swiftwater rescue technicians. We have 2 members trained in organized avalanche response. Although we don't have any avalanche terrain in any of the municipalities we serve, we do assist other groups when the need arises. We have 1 person that's trained in human external transport system. That's the person that you see hanging at the bottom of the helicopter on the rope, flying around. And we have 23 of our members that are hover exit trained. And all our members are certified in first aid, including patient packaging and oxygen therapy. Some of the vehicles that our team has, we have 4 trucks and 4 trailers. What you see here is our newest truck that just came into service in January. This was a result of our gaming funds from the province. It's a Ford F550 equipment truck. We have a command truck as well. It allows us to provide a mobile incident command post going to any location where we may need to set up. We have a Ford excursion rescue truck and a Ram 1500 personnel truck. Our 3 watercraft that we have is a 16-foot jet boat, a 12-foot creek boat that can be put in any location, just popped in by hand, and a 3-man hovercraft for any flood situations that may occur along any of the floodplains within the municipalities we have. We also have a 20-foot logistics trailer. That trailer allows our team of 37 to be totally self-sufficient for 72 hours in the event of any disaster. It carries with it all the shelter we need, food and water and equipment. Our team can be activated via the police, ambulance, fire, Department of National Defense, the emergency program. The public cannot activate the team directly. We must be activated through one of our call-out agencies. And we're all called out to our cell phones to the 37 members that we have in order to give 24-hour-a-day response, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. All of our members are volunteer that participate in Central Fraser Valley Search and Rescue. So our response time can vary between 10 to 15 minutes on evenings and weekends, and a little longer during the weekdays when we're getting out. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Questions from council? Councillor Hall.
The organization that seems to get most of the profile is North Shore Search and Rescue. Certainly Mr. Jones was on the news pretty well every night for a while there, and unfortunately he passed away. But in your particular case, you've got all those vehicles. So what do you do to have capital cost replacement? You talked about the operating costs that you have, but as those vehicles obviously age and need to be replaced, what's your source of funding for replacement of those?
Exactly. Our capital costs, we rely on the gaming money that comes in to price that. For that new truck that I showed you up there, that was the result of 2 years of pool money. It was $125,000 for that truck. It replaced a 20-year-old F-350 that we had that was starting to age on us and starting to get some leaks in that. So it does come along that we do need to replace some of those. We were lucky enough for that personnel carrier. We did win it with a radio station. They were able to give us that truck. So that helped us along those, but it will need to be replaced in the future.
Second and last question. With North Shore Search and Rescue and some of the other mountain-based ones, there's always been discussion that if someone brings upon the risk themselves, they should bear some of the costs. So if they go out of bounds skiing, perhaps, and they have to go on a detailed rescue, they should absorb some of that. I don't think we've actually moved to that point, but there's always been that discussion. In terms of your Fraser Valley operation, are there incidents that you would suggest where people bring this risk upon themselves, and we might pursue that kind of partial funding model?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, that's something that comes up quite often when speaking about search and rescue incidents. And as a province, all our search and rescue teams are combined, go by the stance that there should be no charge for rescue. There's reasons that go into that, such as them not wanting to call for help right away because of the fear of being charged. By not calling for help, they put themselves and the searchers in more risk. They're out longer. Other times you can have people that will just hang out there and then maybe try and follow the search teams back themselves or wait for them to come in. You run into those situations where we feel that the risk to the searchers is increased by making them pay for their own rescue.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you for coming, Lee. And I see that you have a cohort with you.
Yes, with me is Bruce Havery. He's our team treasurer as well. So,
well, thank you to both of you for coming this evening, and hopefully I don't see you. And again, on behalf of the city, you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Next item we have is Mayor's Report, upcoming meetings. The next regular council meeting is May the 12th, which is next week. And the regular council meeting in June is televised, and that is on June the 9th. And there is no Metro Vancouver report this evening, and no library. And the next item is Mr. Baumhoff to come up and give us his engineering update. Thank you, Rick.
For the Engineering, Parks and Environment update for May, this presentation, I'll just, all right, there we go. Skipping ahead here. For some reason, I don't have a slide in here for the MMBC update, but in any case, I will talk about it. Multi-Material British Columbia is implementing a new recycling program, which is starting May 19th, and so that's a significant change coming up for the public. And that implemented is it will involve far more recyclables that people can put into their blue box containers. An example of the additional products that they can put in the blue box are different types of plastic containers. So far more than just the numbered plastics, but all types of plastic containers. Aluminum foil and containers, microwavable bowls and cups, aerosol cans and caps, plastic garden plant pots, etc. So brochures have been circulated and are being circulated right now to the single-family homes. And they will receive also with the brochure, they'll also receive a green box, a lime green box, which must be used for glass, and glass must be separated out from the rest of the recyclables. So that can be put out at the curb with your blue box the same day as your normal recycling, but it must be separated out. Notices have been put in the newspapers, press releases. A lot of information has gone out on this issue, but that is effective May 19th. And until that time, residents are to continue with the regular recycling program and not separating out the glass. Even though you might have the green box, you don't need to separate it out until after May 19th. Then for multifamily, is a little bit different than single family. That program starts also on May 19th for the general recycling program, but glass recycling starts on June 17th. So for multifamily, there's an option to participate in the glass recycling or not. There's no additional cost to multifamily for the 2014 year. So the option is going to be given to them. They will advise us if they wish to participate. We'll advise the contractor and we'll coordinate for them to receive the bins required for the glass sorting. So, and also there's information, that brochure is an individual brochure for multifamily units that will identify all of the recyclables, as well as that starting effective next year, January 1st, 2015, there will be an extra cost for multifamily recycling that they will need to decide whether they wish to participate in at that point or not. But further information will be coming forward on that issue for multifamily units.
You might want to mention the depots.
Oh, yes, thank you. There are 3 depots in the Langley region area that people can bring recyclables to. So the option is if they have a lot of glass containers, they can bring them to the 3 depots. I don't have the list of where the locations are.
19641 60th Avenue and 22575 Fraser Highway, and one in Walnut Grove at 20280 97th Avenue. So on 97th Avenue and 202, Fraser Highway at 225th, and 60th Avenue at 196th.
Right, so that's the Willowbrook Recycling Facility, the Fraser Valley Bottle and Return It Depot, and the Walnut Grove Bottle and Return It Center. All right, so then on the operations update, there's a water main looping at 50th Avenue west of 196th, which will be going on and has started between May 2nd and May 14th. It will involve minimal traffic impact and intermittent water interruptions. People will be notified by the crews, and if there's any concerns, they can deal with the crews directly. Upcoming in May, there's water service improvements on 201A Street between 53rd Avenue and Mashad Crescent. It will involve transfer of residential services, tie into existing main to cross the streets, and then eliminate the old water main and transfer hydrants onto the new main. Purpose is to improve infrastructure, improve the water quality, and the timeline is May 19th until approximately July 1st, 2014. It'll involve minimal traffic impact and intermittent water interruptions. Then upcoming is the 200th Street Utility and Road Upgrading Project, which is a major city project as well as a regional project. It's the summer of 2014, and there was an April newspaper article regarding closure of 200th Street to deal with that project. So I just wanted to clarify a few points that, just for the public as well. There's a full briefing on the project will be upcoming on the May 12th council meeting. Metro Vancouver staff will also attend. But the article contained misinformation on 200th Street. It will not be off limits or closed for 8 to 12 months. However, there will be ongoing construction throughout that corridor. Both the city and Metro Vancouver are working with a consultant on a traffic management plan, which will be included in the contract documents. Local access will be maintained at all times for residents and businesses, and both project teams are reviewing the expected traffic delays with different lane closures and detour scenarios in order to minimize traffic delays and impacts to the community. Expectations is that for most of the project, they will maintain one lane in each direction with possibilities of minor impacts to that throughout the project. There will also be a public information session scheduled for the end of June, and they are just finalizing the location for that event, and notifications will be sent out and posted on our website. Langley Prairie Park is currently under construction for park improvements, and anticipated completion is June of 2014. The contractor is Cedar Crest Lands. And the signal rebuild at 206th Street and 56th Avenue, Logan Crescent, has been awarded to Crown Contracting, and construction is scheduled to start in June of 2014. And Grade Crescent Culvert and Bryden Lagoon Culvert design has been awarded to Parsons Engineering. This shows a picture of the Douglas Park Water Park upgrade. The work has started, and I will comment that the extras that we had talked about earlier tonight have not been awarded. The other work has, but we will be discussing the extras with them after tonight's meeting. So that work is underway, and there's a few shots of the construction of the water park upgrade. A couple of shots. And also the Hunter Park playground opened mid-April. There was a damaged playground and swings, and they have been replaced by this playground. That's the end of my presentation.
As the lights come back on. Thank you very much. There's no questions from council at all? Councillor Hall.
Two. First, quick one. The Langley Prairie Park that's being constructed was temporarily being used as a storage facility for materials to build the rest of the varsity development. So I gather that the last phase of the varsity has been put on hold. So what would be the plan for storage of materials to build the final phase if the proponent decides to proceed?
We have not been informed of that at this time.
Okay, so the last thing that we'd want to see is that the developer come back to us and ask that they store their materials on this new park that we've created. So when they proceed with the new development, and it may be this year, it may be in ensuing years, what requirements are there of the developer for storage of those materials? Can they store it on the roadway which winds through that property, or would they have to find some close available site to transport things back and forth?
Your worship, to Council Hall, obviously, if they do request the city to store their materials on city land, that's the discussions that we need to have. If they're proposing to place on the Prairie Park, the newly constructed Prairie Park, and that's a requirement for them to reinstate the Langley Prairie Park to original better conditions, if that is the case. But we haven't got to that point yet because they haven't asked permission, so we don't know if they were actually going to be doing that or not.
Thank you. Councillor Arnold.
When do we expect Prairie Park to be finished?
Your Worship, to Council, I believe Mr. Barnhoff noted it was June 2014 that would be completed.
Is that middle of June?
I would suggest the end of June.
Okay, thank you.
And Councillor Hall.
I'm pleased to see that the Timms Community Center is proceeding, and we have a budget in 2014 moving forward, a fairly generous contingency on top of the price. And so what we've got pocketed is 14 point some odd million. But I asked many months ago the question of what have been the costs towards the development of the Timms Community Center that were budgeted in prior years, so that we can now, as we proceed after the other mission that we had did not meet with success, we had incurred some consulting fees, some planning fees, and others. So I would like to know what those costs were, so that we might start fresh from the 14 point whatever million we're at now to add those together. You might have to do some research. I don't know whether I need a motion to that effect. But
Mr. Chung.
Your Worship, to Councillor Hall, we don't have that information at this point. We will have to do some research. The $14.3 million, it is a fresh budget amount moving forward, but we will try to research that information and bring it back to Council.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hall, further question?
in that I asked for that information months ago, I'm just wondering when that might be. Next meeting would be the expectation?
I don't have it at this meeting, like in front of me, but I can certainly bring that to you next meeting.
Okay, I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, Kim Hilton, who is next up, giving us a recreation update.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council and viewing audience. This is the update for Recreation, Culture, and Community Services for May 2014. And as always, we start with our special events, and it is a busy month. We had a big event yesterday, but I'll leave Councillor Wallace to speak to that. The first week of May every year is Youth Week, and the youth have been very busy with activities almost every single day. Today it was their random acts of kindness that they were handing out oranges to people, and that was in partnership with the downtown merchants. They gave a small grant to provide funding for the purchase of the oranges. And on Wednesday, May the 7th, is their last event, and it's a free drop-in yoga class, and that's at Langley Secondary School. All youth are welcome. The class runs from 3 to 4 p.m., and there will be snacks and refreshments available afterwards, because we know food does attract youth. So hopefully with the food and the yoga, they'll have a great time. So that's the last event for Youth Week, and I'd just like to thank the community for their great support of Youth Week, the downtown merchants, the Langley Arts Council, and our great youth council that has put a lot of effort in to organizing and planning. Move for Health Day. This is an annual event throughout the province. Saturday, May 10th is Move for Health Day. We have several activities for people to be involved with, and they're all free. The first one it runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Timms Community Center, and it is a free weight room orientation. So if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable about participating in a weight room, I have to say Timms is not a real heavy lifting weight room. You don't see the big bulky guys there. It's more of a recreational weight room, and you should feel really comfortable there. And to make you feel more so, we are offering these free weight room orientations. So for more information for this, you can phone our center at 604-514-2940. So you can run from your weight room orientation to the walk with the mayor and council. And they're meeting at 10 o'clock at the Spirit Square Performance Platform in Douglas Park. And they will take you on a wonderful walk through beautiful downtown Langley and our floodplains, I'm sure, unless they're flooded. So you have an hour to walk with mayor and council. From there, you can go back to Tim's Community Center and participate in our stretch and core fitness class. And that is from 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. And this class is free. This is a class that does run weekly, but for the Move for Health Day, it is a free class. And we're going to continue on into the evening where we have Youth Dodge and Dine. Again, this is a Move for Health Day initiative. The youth will be taken over to Douglas Recreation Center in the main hall where they will play dodgeball. And then, of course, we have food. We'll have pizza for them, and they can enjoy their pizza and refreshments as well. And we've received a couple different sponsorships for Move for Health Day. That's where we're able to offer these activities at no cost. Coming up on Saturday, May 24th from 12:30 to 4:30 p.m. in Douglas Park is our 4th annual Arts, Culture, and Heritage Open House. I would like to invite all artists and cultural people and heritage people to purchase a booth for the event. Registration is still open and will be open until probably the 23rd of May. We have an extensive lineup of entertainment for the performing platform in the park, as well as activities, face painting, and other entertainment. So if you're interested in registering for a booth, please phone 604-514-2865. Otherwise, please join us on the day of the event and enjoy the great entertainment and activities that are in the park. It's our annual Try It Triathlon on Sunday, June the 22nd. I just want to give a heads up that our early bird registration finishes on May 25th, but registration will continue, but you'll pay a slightly larger amount. And this event is open to people of all ages, children, youth, adults, and we also have a relay team. And I love this picture because these are actually athletes that compete in our events in past years. And the fellow who's swimming is probably our oldest competitor, an avid triathlete, just an amazing athlete, Brian Parkinson. And then you can see even a young little guy in the middle at the bottom, and that's probably his first race. And some of them just have to swim one length of the pool, a short run around the park, and maybe a loop around City Park for the bikes, and they just have such a great time and feel so good about themselves when they can complete it. So this is a great event. We're always looking for volunteers, so if you're interested in helping out, that is Sunday, June the 22nd. And to phone to register or to volunteer, you can phone 604-514-2940. Now onto some programs. This is our spring recreation guide. We are actually busy working on the summer one already. This guide can be found in any of our recreation facilities, City Hall or Langley Library. It is online as well on our website. It's easy to navigate. There's tons of opportunity for people of all ages. So please don't hesitate. Go online, have a look through the booklet, and find something interesting to participate in. I know it's hard to believe yesterday when you're out in Langley Walk and it's pouring rain, but our outdoor pool is opening this Friday on May 9th. Alanis Memorial Pool staff have been busy training, and on Friday is the first day, and the grade 5s will actually be starting their grade 5 Operation Waterproof. It's a program where the grade 5s in the district, all the grade 5s, come to our pool for 5 days, 1 hour each day, and learn a lot about water safety, first aid, and a little bit of swimming skills, but that's really not the focus. It's really the first aid and prevention, and they have a great time. So join us on May 9th for the first day, or pop down for May 10th for the Move for Health Day, because there will be a free swim that day as well. And parents are busy organizing their plans for the summer and contemplating what to do with their children. Well, they still have to work, but the kids are off. So we do have our fantastic day camp adventures for ages 5 to 12. They're based out of Douglas Recreation Center. They're day-long activities that run 8:30 to 3. We do have before and after care as well. They are theme-based camps, and as you can see on the slide, there's different activities each day. The children do go to the pool, the outdoor pool, twice during the week, once on a Tuesday and once on a Thursday, and then they have an out trip on Friday. You can register for the entire week, or you can register for individual days, so we're quite flexible, and hopefully it'll meet your need as a parent for childminding. We've also partnered up with the school district and their summer learning opportunity. Blacklock Elementary will be doing a summer school. It starts a week later than the other schools. So we will be providing the opportunity to have a day camp after summer school based out of the Blacklock Elementary. So you can see it's 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's a shorter time because they're in the school in the morning. And it's $38 per week. And if you're interested in registering or to find more about it, you can phone 604-514-2865. And again, they'll be using the swimming pool as well. They're very close, being at Blacklock. And that's my update for May. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions?
Councillor Wallace?
Councillor Wallace?
I should know this answer, but how much are the booths for the open house?
I believe they're $20 or $25 if you're selling product.
Yes.
$20 if you're not selling, $25 if you are selling.
Thank you.
Further questions? I know this past weekend for Youth Week, all of council except for Councillor Martin, she sent her regrets, went out bowling with the youth. And I know my grandson can bowl way better than myself because I just barely cracked 100. And it's quite embarrassing, actually. You think you're throwing a ball and those pins get knocked down, and all these kids to the left and to the right are getting strikes and having fun and spares. And all of council had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs, and I have never seen so many pizzas snorfed up so fast by those youth.
Now, did the youth have bumpers and you didn't?
We didn't have any bumpers there. It was, yeah, I was gutter guy. I know that, but we had a lot of fun. And Councillor Hall, Councillor Martin, or Councillor James, Councillor Wallace, Councillor Arnold. We just like to say thank you to the people that organized it all, and we had a lot of fun.
Great, thank you. I'll pass that on.
Thank you. The next item I have is an update from our rainy Langley Walk. Councillor Wallace.
Yes, it was a Noah's Ark walk for sure. There was over 500 participants in the walk, with a number of booths taking part in that day that were involved with health and fitness, community, so it was wonderful to see that many sponsors out. Also, once again, another plug for our wonderful youth coming out to do some face painting and help with the games. So I'm just so thrilled with our youth council. They've been a very dedicated youth council. I know some of the prizes. I know that Belmont won the most walkers from an elementary school. Aldergrove was most walkers from a high school. And I believe the oldest walker, if I can remember, I might be out a number or two, was 86 or 87. So I congratulate them. There was some walkers did the walk before the event started because they wanted to avoid the downpour, but there was a lot of people that just took part, came back drenched, but still had a lot of fun. So congratulations to the committee for organizing a wonderful event that took place in Fort Langley, and it's always a great partnership with the Township of Langley. So thanks to all of those involved and the city and the Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Next item we have is number 7, the bylaws, is bylaw 2934, and the motion is the final reading of the bylaw cited as 2014 tax rate bylaw 2014, number 2934, and I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Martin, Councillor Hall, all those in favor? It's against? It's unanimous. Next item we have is committee reports. Under Parks Environment Advisory Committee, we have invasive species. I'd like to ask Councillor Hall to speak on this report, please.
The Parks and Environment Advisory Committee recommend council to direct staff to investigate the issues and locations of invasive plant species within the city and provide council with recommendations for action. I move that recommendation.
I'll second it. Discussion on this? Councillor, Councillor James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question. Having been involved, actually comment and question, with Communities in Bloom and seeing some of the community groups in action dealing with the invasive plants in our community, I know how absolutely disruptive and destructive they can be. But do we not contribute a substantial amount of money to an organization annually that part of their responsibility is to locate and deal with invasive plant species?
Councillor Hall?
The city does contribute to Langley Environmental Partners, LEPS, $50,000 in the present budget, and last year it was $50,000 as well. The difficulty is that sometimes they attack an invasive species in a particular area, and they go off, and in the next year they attack it somewhere else because there's so much, and then it reappears. So I get the intent of the committee then was recognizing that there's a variety of invasive species with different critical effects, to have staff investigate what the best bang for the buck might be and have an actual action plan rather than simply leaving it to the one organization that, while they do a very admirable job, perhaps it's not enough, or perhaps it needs more direction.
Councillor Wallace?
Yes, I just have a question on, is this a report to find out what exists as far as invasive species throughout Langley City, or is it to find means to limiting the invasive species? Because the $50,000 that is given to LEPS, I thought that was one of their initiatives, as Councillor James mentioned, was to investigate endangered species. And I'm along with many other groups within the Langleys, the Nikamekel Enhancement Society. I know that Friends of Sandell Gardens. I know there's a lot of information that has already been documented. So I'm just wanting to know, because everything always costs money, as you know, Mr. Hall, what are we asking of staff as far as money contributions?
I guess as part of the report that would come back, staff might suggest what the inherent cost might be for further investigation. So in the motion, I think it's captured. Direct staff to investigate the issues, and that would be one of the issues, would be cost. Investigate the prevalence of this stuff, and then to perhaps within some budgetary constraints suggest what action items might be taken. I would assume it's not to happen all in 1 year. It would be a staged process over a number of years. So simply to provide direction moving towards the next budget cycle of what might be done in this area. And you're right, there are other groups that would be asked for information, and they might even do it back through this committee process. That might be something that staff might refer back, because there are representatives of each of those organizations on that committee.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Well, just further to what's already been said, you know, obviously there is problems with invasive plants, but as noted in this report, there is no budget at all for 2014 to do anything. And I guess as far as the work plan goes for staff, particularly in the Parks Department, is this going to pull them away from something else? Because I believe they have their work sort of planned out for the summer, so what is this going to take them away from? It's going to take them away from something, I believe. And I guess the other thing, too, is that if we are giving LAPS $50,000, what kind of a report do we get from them for that $50,000? I mean, can we get a report on possible locations of the invasive species. You know, and there's also companies that volunteer for a day and pull invasive species, and that's one of the ways to get rid of these. So I understand what's being said here, but I'd like to know about the work plan for staff, what they're going to have to give up. There is no budget, and you know, obviously if we do something with this, there's going to be money required in the future. So do we continue giving LEPS the $50,000, or do we put that on our own budget and give it to staff to get rid of the invasive species and report back to us? So, Mr. Chung.
Council Martin, through the chair. We did provide $50,000 in capital budget to LEPS for the last couple of years now. What they do is they do fantastic work, and they do report back out to council at the end of the season after they finish all the work. They not only do invasive species removal, but they also conduct a number of educational campaigns and go to different weekends, open houses, and so on and so forth to educate the public about different environmental issues. What we can do at this point is, obviously, as you noted earlier, we don't have the resources at this point to send our staff to go and remove invasive species. That's something that needs to be considered and built into a work plan. But I think in the interim, we need to consult with the LEPS and develop a program for this year, because we do have another $50,000 budgeted for 2014 budget, and ask them to locate where they have removed those species in the past, and maybe do another reconnaissance at those locations where they have to see if they have grown back, and ask them to maybe develop a plan and maybe take information from other reports that we have so far. And if they cannot do it based on the resources that they have given to them, then we have to come back to council and seek additional resources or fundings to carry out additional research and additional work. But I think the first thing to do is to talk to LEPS and find out where they're at, where they're planning to go for this year, and then bring it back to council.
Thank you.
So further to what you've just said, Mr. Chung, in my opinion, this recommendation should perhaps be amended and say direct staff to contact LEPS in regards to investigating the issues and locations of invasive plant species. Would that be suitable? Because if we pass this, we're going to direct staff, and you just said we don't have the resources, so.
Maybe what we can do is request staff to work with LEPS to develop, bring back report to council on invasive species.
I think there's more than one organization, and I believe they're not asking for this to be done right away. I know I've been out on one of those dirty jobs of pulling ivy. It's probably one of the dirtiest jobs out there. And so you have the Friends of Sunvale Gardens, you have LEPS, you have the environment people that Reese Griffiths group, and it might help for the city to coordinate and at least get some information from these organizations instead of having 6 or 7 organizations going out looking at different places. If we consolidate that information into one little report, and you know, the purple loosestrife, you know, before it makes a comeback, and you have to go out and you have to purchase the beetles, you have to purchase the tents, and to go over that again. So I have no problem with investigating it. So that's what the phrase is in here, is investigate. And for us, it wouldn't take much more than a few letters and phone calls, and maybe get these groups back in here together, get LEPS and the environmental people to have a meeting. And I know there's some representatives on one of those committees already. Let's throw it back to Mr. Chung.
Maybe perhaps a suggestion is to maybe ask, formulate a task group of the Parks and Environment Committee to have a couple of those members to take on the leadership role to assist us with that.
Yeah, I don't see an issue. I don't see a problem with that. So, Councillor Wallace and then Councillor James.
I don't know how much. I know that this is the committee that you chair, Councillor Hall, and I just want to know what the severity of what your committee sees as already. They've probably already talked about the invasive species that are invading. So I just want to know how much education is already there on your committee. And to go further in this, you know, LEPS is an amazing organization with what they do as far as education and environmental initiatives. And I want to just say, is $50,000 enough to be giving to LEPS? And would it be if we find out that it's bigger than people think, would it be better to maybe call on the services of LEPS to be that educational grounds for information, rather than utilizing staff's time, which would probably end up costing more? So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Councillor James? Was there a question? Okay.
This particular committee is very knowledgeable on the subject, and if you refer back to the purple loosestrife and the beetle, they've observed that whatever was done in past years, it's rebloomed, and the beetle effect is as we need to do it again in some way. In terms of where they were trying to go here, I simply provided them advice at the committee that they shouldn't come forward with an ask of council to actually do something without a budget. They were thinking of making a budget request, but I suggested to them a better way to go would be to come to council and make this request that simply asks staff at this point, with their expertise, on how they might proceed further. I wouldn't want to restrict it just to LEPS, because I think there's other organizations there. And one of the recommendations that might come back from staff in a short report is that one of the action items might be to have this committee form a task force amongst themselves. Another might be to simply investigate a program like in Saanich, where they have a very active group of volunteers that go out and directly attack those invasive species. I don't think this group was looking for a consultation, an expensive report to come out, and it was my cautionary advice to them not to attach a budget amount here and leave it fairly general. So rather than be prescriptive, and I think that's what's captured in this motion.
Councillor James?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Further to Councillor Hall's comments, my concern, in addition to being extremely knowledgeable, this committee is also, when they put, in my humble opinion, when they put forward a recommendation, there's a timeline attached to it. So I'm going to suggest an amendment that reads as follows for discussion to see if this, I understand the intentions of the committee, but I'm also concerned that A, we don't have the staff resources to even go out and reallocate their attention to investigating invasive plant species, never mind accommodating it in the form of a budget ask, which I recognize hasn't been done here. But the timeline concerns me as well. So I'm suggesting something along the lines of recommendation to strike a task force of 2 to 3 members of PEAK to work with city staff to investigate and prepare a report for consideration by council prior to the 2015 budget discussions. That way it gives us a little bit of time to put together the task force, decide who amongst staff can or has the ability to work with members of PEAK, gather the LAPS, gather the Nickel-Meckle Enhancement Society, all of the other organizations that Mayor Schaefer mentioned, because this isn't just a matter of slapping together some answers on a piece of paper and making a few phone calls. This is a large project that requires attention. So my concern, again, not only the costs associated, the lack of staff time available, and the timeline that's expected on this. Thank you. Could I just clarify, is that an amendment, or I would like it to be if it's...
Yeah.
Are don't know where we are
Are
in
you,
the process.
are you moving this as an amendment?
Yes, I am.
Can you seconder then? Yeah.
It's mostly in the form, that's actually a new motion.
Yeah, it is,
You're not
it's
striking.
more like a new motion, but we
Right.
already have a motion on the floor,
Right.
so we've got to deal with that first, and then I guess go with this one, right?
Well, speaking to the original motion, I think, looking at the 2015 budget, it would give staff and council something to look at. It's not like we're asking this to come out of 2014 funds if there are funds required. And it's like any other work plan down the road. I think, one of our committees saw something, and it might take 3, 4, 5 years. I know the purple was, it was at one time, quite a challenge out there. So it was probably a 3-year project or more because they had to raise the beetles. And so it was time-consuming. So on the original motion, unless there's another amendment made, we have to vote on this original motion. Councillor Martin?
Excuse me. Yeah, well, with all due respect with what you've just said, I guess, direct staff, we've already said we don't have the staff time. We don't have the resources to do that. They already have a work plan. So I don't think that's going to work. So if we're voting on this by this motion, I'm going to vote against it, and I'll wait for the new motion to come through, because we don't have the staff resources to do this right now.
Councillor Hall?
I'm not sure that we've received that answer, and I'm not sure that we will receive that answer until staff were to embrace this, and that might be one of their recommendations, that we don't have the staff time this year, perhaps we could do something else. I haven't heard that answer at this time. So a direct question through the mayor to staff. Are staff rejecting the notion that they had the time to provide some advice on this?
Councilor, through the chair, staff at this time don't have the resources at the time to carry out this task unless something else falls. So unless we prioritize our assigned task for this year, then currently we don't have it.
Okay, on the original motion, all those in favor? Against? It dies 3-3. Yeah. Yeah. So it was Hall, Schaefer, Wallace in favor. It was Arnold, Martin, and James against. So it failed. So is there any further discussion on this project? None?
Well, no, I'd like to return to that alternate motion. I'll move that motion if Councillor James isn't then. And I don't know what it read, but it was something to the effect of referring this matter back to the Peak Committee for advice towards approaching the 2015 budget. Does that capture it? At least it gives them some solace and
Councillor James?
some
Yeah,
action.
thank you, Councillor Hall, for the clarification. Now that we've heard that it's not just the financial resources, it's the staff time, I'm not comfortable with the motion that I suggested, but to what you just said, as long as somewhere in the body of the motion, this committee's made aware that, if they want to strike a task force and work with members of staff, then they have to recognize that something's going to have to drop off staff's existing workload. That's all I'm concerned about, because this is a very strong-willed committee, and I just want to make sure that they know that this isn't an easy task. This is something that involves time and energy and money that right now that our staff and their work plan don't have. So however you want to deal with it, that's my concern. Thank you.
Just point of order. So I've moved it. Has someone seconded?
Not yet.
I just have clarification on the amendment, please, or the new motion, sorry.
Yeah, all right. So would you like to read what you have, and I'll confirm whether it's... Oh, you don't have anything. Okay,
Councillor James, could you please...
well, it's not her motion now.
I know it's not her motion, but she has the wording. Give it to...
No. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I've changed my whole opinion here.
Okay, I move that Council refer this matter to the Peak Committee that they might establish a task force regarding invasive species moving toward 2015 budget deliberations.
Moved by Councillor Hall, seconded by Councillor Wallace. Discussion on this? Councillor Wallace?
I think what I like about your motion, Councillor Hall, is the added time frame of the 2015, because we've heard from Francis Chung that they don't have the staff resources to look at that right now, but referring it back, if I'm understanding your motion correctly, referring it back to your committee to use their resources of striking up a committee, a subcommittee to look at invasive species, knowing that we will not be able to look at it, or the staff will not be able to do anything about it, or council as far as monies until 2015.
Councillor Hall.
So what this would do would access the expertise that's on the committee. I would expect coming out of that will be some recommendations coming back to council as action items. And at that time, council once again would direct back to staff to ask for the costing of those recommendations and perhaps the staff time that would be involved.
So, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Well, I would hope that any recommendation comes back would be subject to 2015 budget approval. And we would look at these costs at the budget, not when a report comes back.
So, Councillor Hall?
I know we're back and forthing, but, you know, with all budget items, we've talked in the past about addressing some of these things ahead of the budget cycle that we've become accustomed to. It seems that whatever issue it is, it's left to that time period, just October moving forward. I think we've discussed in the past that perhaps we should be making an earlier start. So to simply say, well, let's wait till October, maybe isn't appropriate. Maybe it's best that we start looking at this. If this committee comes up with some action items in June, I don't see any real harm in at least looking at the issues that they raise, moving towards that budget cycle. But I don't want to park whatever the recommendations are until October or November.
Okay. Councillor Martin.
I think that's exactly what I said. I mean, if they come up with a recommendation in June, there's no money in June either. So whatever they come up with, whether the recommendation is June or whether it's October, no decision will be made on their recommendation until the 2015 budget. And whether you like the timing of the budget or not is irrelevant, because no matter what we discuss in regards to what we'd like to do next year and what it may cost, it all goes to the budget meeting. And when we get to the budget meeting and we see whatever dollars for invasive species, there might be 25 things ahead of it that we feel are more important, and it might not even make it to the budget. So everything is subject to budget approval. So, you know, whether, like they say, whether the recommendation is in June or in October or whenever, it's still going to have to be approved for the 2015 budget.
Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. So what I'm understanding, Councillor Hall, is that you're in your motion, it's to take it back to your committee, to strike up a subcommittee, to bring back information to this council. But it doesn't mean that if I did a project to find out what all the invasive species, and I came back with 10 invasive species, and you know what needs to be done with that, that would just be a report, meaning that we would have the report well in advance, rather than at budget time go, okay, it's 2015, let's get the report together. So having a report together 6 months prior or 5 months prior to a budget time, that's what I'm thinking you're getting at. Thank you.
Well, I now call the question. All those in favor? Hall. Against? Everybody's in favor. It's unanimous. So the next one is under Administrator's Report. I need a motion that report on council remuneration and expenses be, as required by Section 168 of the Community Charter, be adopted, and that the Statement of Financial Information as required by the Financial Information Act be adopted. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Arnold, Councillor Hall. Mr. Darren Light, could you please speak to this?
So this is an annual requirement that the provincial government community charter requires the expenses and costs that are made by the city on behalf of the members of the council be publicly reported. So that's what we're doing under Section 168 of the community charter. So there's a listing here of all the council remuneration and expenses incurred. And then in the Financial Information Act return, there are a couple of different sections relating to employees that have there's a schedule of employees with remuneration expenses over $75,000. And then, again, the council remuneration. And then a final schedule showing the suppliers that the city has utilized during 2013 over $25,000.
Thank you, Mr. Light. Discussion? Councillor Hall?
Two questions. Why is the $75,000 the established threshold?
Under the provincial regulations, under the Financial Information Act return, that's what they are requiring.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm asking is how did they come up with that magic $75,000? So over time, has that changed? Like in the past, was the threshold like $60,000?
It was $50,000. I'm not sure when it changed, but I recall it was $50,000 at one time. It's now $75,000, and I'm not sure how they determine that total being applicable or appropriate, but
yeah, I don't
we
know.
just
It's
follow the regulations.
just a weird assumption that I guess if you're making over 75, you're making big bucks or something. But I don't know. It's a weird way to report, and it's kind of a weird threshold to establish. Certainly, wages have increased over time, and one would expect the threshold to go up. Anyway, the second one is on council remuneration and whatnot. There's two reports, and one's different than the other. And if you could just explain, I think I understand it, but maybe there's confusion if anybody else had read it. So
certainly the totals are the same. The way that they're broken out in the two different reports are based on the requirements, again, on Section 168 requires a certain thing, including the benefits that are provided to council, whereas the Financial Information Act return combines those two columns into one number, which is the expense reimbursement and the expenses paid on, or benefits paid on behalf. So in the Section 168 report, we do itemize things like if there are travel and accident insurance, extended health or dental benefits that are paid on behalf of council members, those are identified separately, whereas those are just combined with the expenses on the other report in the Financial Information Act return.
Thank you. Further, I'd like to call the vote now. All those in favor? Against? It's unanimous. Next item is item B, out of province travel for Mr. Roy Beto. I need a motion that Mr. Roy Beto, Deputy Director of Development Services and Economic Development, be authorized to attend the 2014 Canadian Institute of Planners Annual Conference in Fredericton from July 9th to the 12th, 2014. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor James, Councillor Wallace. Discussion at all? Mr. Minchuk, would you like to elaborate a little bit?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, it's my pleasure to present a request for Mr. Beto to attend this year's annual Canadian Institute of Planners Conference hosted in Fredericton, New Brunswick from July 9th to 12th. This conference provides a wealth of courses on a variety of different contemporary planning and topics that will ensure staff keep up to date with the latest developments and best practices in the professional practice of land use planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Against? It's unanimous. In favor of? Next item is out of province travel for Councillor Rosemary Wallace. That Rosemary Wallace be authorized to attend the 2014 Creative City Summit in Hamilton, Ontario from June 11th to 14th, 2014. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Arnold, seconder. Councillor James. Discussion at all? Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. Well, this came across my tablet, and it caught my eye for many reasons, and directions that the city is going as far as their arts and cultural master plan, and they're trying to make interactive cities, especially with the McBurney Lane, and I like the whole idea of getting together with people throughout Canada that have taken part in creating arts and culture and public art. So I mean, there's more that I can, I'll give you a little thing that just caught my eye. Join cultural planning practitioners from across the country for an informative and engaging professional development experience. Through intensive sessions, case studies, and keynote addresses, experts will share real-world projects that are transforming cities across Canada. Delegates will gain insight into integrating culture with other local planning initiatives, encouraging and stimulating eventful cities, planning community-wide participatory events, initiating creative placemaking projects, and creating cultural hubs in their communities. So that alone, I think that I could bring that back to the city, and being the chair of RCPAC, many conversations come up at that committee that I feel that I could benefit them.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Councillor Hall?
As I understand it, this money just comes out of Councillor Wallace's expense account anyway, so it's not like we're providing extra money, but I think there's value in some of these out-of-province conferences. There's less value if 6 or 5 or whatever go, because they all get the experience, but perhaps there could be a vehicle whereby when a person goes on one of these, they come back at a public meeting and provide almost like a community spotlight, so that the rest of us might benefit from just a summary of some of the sessions. I realize it'll benefit your committee, and in terms of personal growth, it's good, but by extension, I'd like to learn something about it as well, but I'm not going there. So if that information could be relayed back, it would be more worthwhile, I would think.
That's what I'm planning on doing, is sharing that information, not just with my committee, but with council also, because I don't just believe it's going to benefit just the committee. It's going to, hopefully I can bring back some ideas with some initiatives that the whole of council and staff are looking at. So, yeah, thank you.
Further discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Against? It's unanimous for. Next item is item 8, new and unfinished business. Does anybody have any motions or notices of motions? Seeing none, we have some correspondence from Explore Asian. May is Asian Heritage Month, and that is in our package. And Multiple Sclerosis Society of Canada, May is MS Awareness Month. And I know I just did the MS walk the other day, and do we have any further discussion at all? Seeing none, no new business, no motion to adjourn. Councillor Arnold, Councillor Wallace, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you for coming tonight, and we'll see you in a week.